This video, we discussed section 1, the introduction. We started building the foundation, and at this point, in order to continue the presentation, you must have already received the electric bill from the customer showing the monthly usage. Continuing to build upon the foundation, we begin at step 2, the proposal. You can see that the format continues with the color codes, instructions, rebuttals, triggers, etc. And the PowerPoint presentation begins with where we left off at slide 16. Again, I'm not going to go over the entire script, just the finer points. We started out using the analogy that choosing to go solar is like buying a car. Once you decide on the make, model, and color, as well as the options, you now have to choose how to pay for it. Solar is the same thing. It's just like buying a car. You have 3 options. You can pay cash, you can finance it, or you can lease it. A couple of things to note. If after you did your due diligence and purchase is the only option for the customer, obviously we're not going to be talking about leasing. And we'll skip to the next section. Please note that the purpose of this training video, when I mention leases, I'm using it as a general term. I'm referring to both the PPA and the lease options. Assuming a lease is still an option, we continue and start talking about purchasing the system versus leasing it. We're explaining the pros and cons of each option, leading them to make an educated choice as to which option works best for them. We're narrowing down our options, hopefully making our job easier when it comes time to choose which platform to use when building out the system later on. That said, if you already know that the purchase does not make sense and that leasing is the way to go, there's a built-in instruction telling you to skip the section and go directly to page 12. At this point, you should have already done the due diligence and entered the lead in the appropriate portals. You should have done one for the purchase and one for the lease to save you time when doing the presentation. The last thing a customer wants is to see how the sausage is made. They don't want you wasting their time because you are not prepared. Now, when it comes to leasing, choose the company that has the lowest red lines if you have multiple options. So we're going to move on down to page 12. We're building out the system. You're going to be directing the customer to the specific proposal in the portal that you choose. When you pull up the house in the system, first ask the customer, is this your house? Make sure that you're on the same page. Talk to them about the house, compliment them. Mention how beautiful it is, how cool a house it is, how cute it is, etc. Then talk about the roof, its shape, the slope, how many panes there are, the shade, and any encumbrances. For example, dormers, vents, chimneys, and setbacks. Each portal has its own set of tools available. Please make sure to use and demonstrate all of them, whether you need to or not. They all have some version of irradiance, LiDAR, trees, ruler, sun path, compass, and 3D mode. These are all cool tools that you have at your disposal. Take advantage of them. It will help prove credibility and set you apart from other proposals they may have seen. They will also help explain why this system is being built out the way it is, rather than just taking your word for it. Moving on to page 13, you'll notice that we have the ratings listed for each type of solar panel. It shows the watts, efficiency, the weight, and size dimension of each panel. Notice they're all produced in the United States. If they want more detailed information, you have access for each company, which is located in the library of documents that can be found in the CRM. Also listed is a sidebar that shows the base model panels for each company. For purchase or finance, the base model is the Silfab 430 watt panel. For leases, Everbright and Sunrun also use the Silfab 430, where Enfin and Sonova use the Qcell 410 watt panels. Moving on to page 14, we start talking about batteries and the different kind of uses. There's a list of states and utility companies within those states that allow for non-backup batteries. If the customer's utility company in that state that the house is located in is not listed, then they can't use batteries in a non-backup configuration. In this case, if it's not listed, the utility company is not listed, they can only use it as a backup if there's a blackout or loss of electricity from the grid. As a side note, batteries add a 25-day delay to the install time. So if you have a system without a battery and then decide to get a battery later on, it's going to cost you 25 additional days to get that installed. Just keep that in the back of your mind. So we want to mention batteries, give them the option, but persuade them maybe it's not in their best interest, if that's the case. Again, if it's just as a backup battery, there is no financial gain to it. If it's a backup use, it makes sense financially. All right. It's just as a backup, don't do it, if at all possible. All right, moving on to page 15. We start talking about financing. If doing a lease, you're going to skip to step 6, the lease close on page 21. Previously, I spoke about different roles that we play and mentioned being a mortgage broker. This section is what I was referring to. And this section is both complicated for the agent and the customer alike. Some of you may choose to not show the customer the rate deck that's included in the presentation. All right. You may be scared of it, either because you're not comfortable in showing it or you don't want to confuse the customer. I personally don't think we have anything to hide and think it helps with our credibility. Also, if explained correctly, it will not confuse the customer. I just don't know another way to explain it without showing them the rate deck and using the script to explain it without coming off as presumptuous, limiting their options and choosing their terms and rates for them. I would rather show them and explain the pros and cons of each option and have them choose which one is in their best interest. Either way, it's optional. Moving on to page 16, we're talking about SRECs in more detail. So if they do not live in those states where SRECs apply, skip to the next paragraph. All right, you'll see that here. All right, moving on to page 18, we get to the purchase close section. This is when it starts to get real. This is the first of 2 closes that are built into the script. You'll notice that we have a number of different calculators built into the PowerPoint presentation. The first being the solar payback period calculator. Notice in pink, it says optional. It is optional for you to share it with the customer. Only use it if you want to know what the break-even point is and when it starts to get profitable for the customer. Just note that if you use it, you should test it ahead of time before you do the presentation when you're doing your due diligence. That way you have an idea of what it's going to look like, so there's no surprises. Let's say the annual average savings was $1,800 a year. The gross cost of the system was $3,000. And the ITC tax credit was $9,000. If there was additional Shreks, you would add that to the total tax credits and come up with a total. So if you subtract out the $9,000 from the $3,000, your net cost of the system is $21,000. Therefore, it would take 11.66 years to break even. Anytime after that, the customer is realizing a profit. Now, only use this, number one, if you're financing or they're purchasing the system. And number two, that they're making minimum payments and that the loan does not amortize. If they're going to pay additional money, then it gets a little complicated and these numbers will not be correct when it reamortizes. All right, the next is the financial calculator. It basically explains the financial ballgame. It's to be used in conjunction with the closing script, where you're just reading the script and recapping the benefits, reading the numbers from the calculator. Again, we're just plugging in the numbers in pink. The other colors will populate and do the calculation. It's comparing their current situation that you see here if they did nothing. And it contrasts it if they go solar, and then we compare apples to apples. So if we were to say the inflation rate that they gave us was 4%, and their average utility bill now is $300, everything populates for you. Their annual electric cost is $3,600 a year. In year 25, their monthly payment is going to be $768. Over the course of year 25, they will be spending $9,227. And over the course of 25 years, they're going to be spending $149,925. Now let's plug in the numbers for solar. Let's say the payment was going to be $250 a month. Let's say it was a 15K system. Let's say it was a 25-year loan. And let's say the amount financed was $30,000. It populates everything for you. So their monthly payment is $250. Their annual spending is $3,000. You can see that their month or payment for year 25 is going to be $250 a month. It's going to cost them $3,000 a year. They're spending $75,000 in total payments over the course of 25 years. The system size is 15K. The length of the term is 25 years, 300 payments, and the amount financed is $30,000. Now, if they go solar, again, there's a zero down payment. Their first year monthly savings is $50 a month. They're saving $600. At the end of 25 years, they're going to be saving $518 a month, or $9,227 a year. over 25 years, they're going to be saving $74,925. Their ITC tax credit is $9,000. If they had Shreks, you'd put that there. Their total, it would add up the Shreks and the ITC tax credit, and you would get there. Their home value is going to increase by $88,000. And their total value of benefits by adding the home value increase with their savings is going to be a total value of $172,590 just by going solar with a zero down payment. Nothing out of pocket. So you're really comparing apples to apples, oranges to oranges, and it'll make more sense when you go through it and apply it to the script. Again, you're just plugging in and reading off the numbers when you do the script. All right. We then have another calculator, which is also optional. And what this is showing is how to make the sausage, how you came up with those numbers. Only use it if you want to demonstrate how the total cost was derived and how the sausage was made. It shows the annual increase in total cost from year to year for 25 years if they did nothing. The way to use this is to first look for the annual increase, which you'll find over here in column C. So we have 3% going down, 4%, 5%, 6%, 7%, etc. We then have what their current monthly payment is at the moment. You'll notice that it's listed, the same numbers are listed for each percentage increase. So what you're doing is first looking for the annual increase in column C, then matching it up with what their current monthly payment is now. And then you're going to scroll across and it gets extended out over 25 years. So for example, let's say the increase was 4%. So we're going to scroll down to 4%. And their average payment was, say, $300. So in this case, what I would do is highlight this. So you can see their first year's monthly payment is $300. It then goes up to $312, $324, $337, etc. And it goes out 25 years. So in year 25, their monthly payment will be $768 a month. They'll be spending $9,227 a year for utility costs, and extended out over 25 years, they will have spent a total of $149,925. All right. Once again, only demonstrated if they want to see how the numbers were derived. All right. Otherwise, it's unnecessary. All right. Going back to the script, we're going to address any questions or concerns that they have, explain what the next steps are. We're going to run their credit and send the docs for them to sign. Now, if they chose the purchase option, that's it for the close and the presentation. All right, you're done. Now all you got to do is chase the documents and schedule them to come out and do the inspection. But on the other hand, if leasing is the only option for them, or they want to take a look at what the lease options will look like, we continue on. So we go down to page 21 and we get to the leasing close. Again, this is the second of the two closes that are built into the script. I want to demonstrate that we have an optional calculator. It's the escalator calculator. All right. Now, what this shows you is what the escalator looks like from year to year and by percentage. So if you wanted to demonstrate how many years they're getting a lower payment until they lose the advantage as opposed to having a fixed payment and what the break-even point is. We're using the annual escalator that's built into the proposal. They're looking at the month, what the monthly payment will be, and then extend it out year by year until you find the amount that it would be with a fixed amount with no escalator. For example, let's say that the escalator payment was $399. So we're looking for the escalator. It starts out at $199 and then goes down. So we're looking for $399. That the monthly payment was $200. All right, here's the monthly payment in column A. So we match it up. 399 with 200, which is what the monthly payment would be. And then we look to compare it to what the fixed amount would be had there been no escalator. So let's say the fixed amount would have been $233 a month. So if you highlight it and scroll back up to the top, you'll see that it will take 5 years to reach what a fixed payment would be. In other words, the customer is getting the advantage for the first 5 years. After 5 years, the pendulum swings the other way and it gets more expensive for them. So when you're trying to figure it out, what is in their best interest, this is how you do it. Keep in mind, it's still going to be better than the annual increases from the utility company if you chose to have an escalator built in. Going back to page 21 in the script, please note that if other leasing options are available to you, in other words, your first option may have been Sunrun, and you're quoting them a Sunrun option, but the payment option that you quoted is too high for them, there's a built-in rebuttal explaining that there are other leasing companies and options. That being said, you get another bite at the apple. You already know what the parameters that did not work for them. Therefore, you have the advantage and quote them less with another leasing company. All right, and that's what this is saying right here. All right, going to the leasing calculator. It's just like the financial calculator. It explains the financial ballgame for the lease option. It's to be used in conjunction with the close, where you're just reading the script and recapping the benefits, reading the numbers from the calculator. It's comparing their current situation if they did nothing, which is listed on the left-hand side, and contrast it, what it would look like if they went solar, and then compares apples to apples. So you can see that here. So if the inflation rate was say 4%, their current payment was say $300 a month. It's going to calculate it out for the month, the year, etc. And let's say the lease payment was $200. System size was 10K system, and you put an escalator in at $399. This is what it's going to look like. So their monthly payment is going to be, their savings is going to be $100 to $1,200 for the year. At the end of 25 years, they're going to be saving $768 a month, or $9,227 for the year. Over the course of 25 years, they're saving $50,000 and their home value is going up. Total benefits, $109,219. All right. Calculates it that quick. So next, we addressed any questions or concerns that they have. We're going to be explaining what the next steps are, run credit, send the docs, have them sign it. And that's the ballgame. That's the script from start to finish. We're framing the conversation and taking the customer on a journey. As I said, it's pretty comprehensive, thorough, and straightforward. Think of it as when your mother got you your first paint by numbers kit. For every number 1, you colored the area in red. For every 2, you colored it in blue. For every 3, you colored it in yellow. And at the end of when you completed it, you had a nice, pretty picture. This is the same thing. Just follow the script with the built-in instructions, the rebuttals, and you're going to be successful. You'll avoid going down rabbit holes or have the conversation take a turn and you end up going off to Pluto. Now, let's talk about some tips and tricks that are going to help you. Starting with, I cannot stress this enough. Please print out the script. There's a couple of reasons for it. Do not read the script from a computer screen. Print it out, have it in your hand, and follow it with your fingertips. The script was designed to be presented as a consultative conversation. There is no such thing as a perfect pitch. Invariably, you're going to get interrupted in the conversation where the customer is going to ask you a question or voice their concern. If you have the script in your hand, you're going to remain in control and not lose your place because you're following it with your fingertips. If they interrupt you and you address their question, comment, or concern, you're going to get lost if you're not following it with your fingertips. You're going to lose your place, and therefore you're going to have awkward silence while you find your place, or the customer is going to hear you unconsciously say, hang on a second, let me find my place. If you have the script in your hand, you're going to avoid that, and you're going to sound more professional and believable. It's going to give you confidence and act as a security blanket, making your delivery that much better. Also, if you're sharing your screen with the customer, you can't show them both the script and the presentation. You only have one screen, unless, of course, you have multiple screens. And either way, you still don't want to share the script with them. That's a little unprofessional. You're going to be sharing the PowerPoint presentation with them, and that's what they're going to see. All right. Stay within the letter of the script. Inject your personality and your personal flavor of speaking into it. Own it as if you yourself wrote it. However, you must ask the questions exactly how they're written. Do not paraphrase them. It's not the question we ask, it's how we ask the question. You can end up asking the same question 10 different ways, and you're going to get 10 different answers. We want to get the correct answer. Therefore, please ask the questions exactly how they're written. While we're talking about it, be prepared with your rebuttals. Do not be afraid to stand them up. People will test you to see if you know what you're talking about and believe your own BS. The worst thing that can happen is they say no. So what? You have nothing to lose. You don't have a deal until it's installed and we get a permission to operate. If you sound confident and professional, you're going to be setting a positive tone and give them reason to trust you. Be proactive, not reactive. Use ownership phrases like, this is where your panels are going to go. What are you going to do with all the savings that you're getting? Do not say, let me be honest with you. That's a dishonest statement. As soon as someone says, let me be honest with you, first thing someone's saying is, okay, up until now, you've been dishonest. All right. Instead of saying, let me be honest, instead say, let me be blunt. All right. Get in the habit of saying that. All right. From the customer's perspective, some things are going to be more important than others. You're going to have to feel your way through it, as each presentation is different. If someone's interested in a particular topic, spend a little bit more time on that topic. If they're not interested, move on. Keep it moving. All right. Just make sure you cover the basics. All right. If they ask, what's next, or how do we get started prematurely before you finish making the presentation, explain. We need to make sure it's the right fit for you and that you and your home will qualify. Do not take the bait and bow down to what they're saying to you. Stay in control. Be prepared before doing the presentation with the customer. Do your due diligence. Have the proposal portals that you're going to be using open ahead of time, and have the leads already entered in the portals that you're going to be using. Have the pre-submission due diligence guide open in case you need to reference it. It's also a good idea to review and practice the script prior to each presentation. We want to do this for the same reason you stretch and warm up before you play sports. You want to get your mind and body right before you play when it counts. Right? You just don't want to go into it cold because you're going to fail. Make sure you're comfortable with the portals and how to navigate them before presenting it to the customer. There's videos for each portal and each company, along with step-by-step document guides that are in the training libraries. They're located in the CRM. Also, you have step-by-step instructions listed in the pre-submission diligence guidebook. All right. In the guidebook itself, you have all the different companies side by side. So you just go step by step down the lists. All right. So that's basically it. That's the script and presentation in a nutshell. If at any point you find yourself needing help, please feel free to reach out. And that includes if you need help with designing the proposals, or you need help conducting your first few presentations, let us know. We're here to help you. We look forward to working with you and your continued success. Please let us know if you need any help or have any questions. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.